Trivia, let's go.
Yeah, that's all exciting.
I'm excited for it.
Should we just go straight to trivia, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Hi everyone, I'm Sasha, I'm dev at RISC Zero, and with me I have Mr. 0x Tay Ho Ho. Your family and friends call you Tay, or?
They just call me Terry, but whatever works.
All right, Tay Ho Ho it is. So today we're going to talk about Eclipse. You are the head of strategy at Eclipse. You told me that actually the title is a bit amorphous. You just kind of do everything that you can, help out where you can.
For sure.
I know that very well. So when I first heard of Eclipse, there's one, not to sound too pretentious, but there's this quote that I always liked, which was like, the sign of a really smart person is the ability to hold two diametrically opposed ideas right adjacent in their head and still be able to function. So you might have to convince me otherwise, but when I heard of layer 2 on Ethereum using the SVM, I thought of that quote. I was like, seems a bit counterintuitive. So convince me otherwise. Tell me how Eclipse got started, where you guys are at right now, what you're focusing on. Just an introduction to Eclipse.
Yeah, there's nothing that constricts the type of execution environment you can use on a layer 2. And in fact, I think Starkware was the first to ever do it because it's more easily provable. So technically, it wasn't this idea that was completely out of the blue. Oh, let's use something that's a different virtual machine. Let's use a different execution environment and then put that on top of Ethereum as execution layer. So essentially, that's how Eclipse came to be. One thing we realized was there was this 10 to 100x improvement in DA throughput that was coming online. On the Ethereum side through things like dank sharding, but mostly through alt-DA. And we realized once you have alt-DA, that is no longer a constriction in terms of what you can do on the execution layer. So then the next step you should be doing is building something that really has high throughput that can support just orders of magnitude better transaction throughput and lower cost fees than the current layers of L2s that you had today. And so that's how Eclipse started. What we went out to market was okay, let's look for something that has the following properties, which is a decorrelation between the mean and the median fee, as in the ability to support multiple hotspots and fee market locality, and then the ability to do extremely fast throughput. And at the moment, what was available, and many people think that Eclipse now is building Solana on Ethereum. Solana is really hot. It makes a lot of sense. But we committed to Solana on Ethereum. We committed to building in the SVM when I believe Solana was $9, $10. So it was at the moment a contrarian take. But that's what the thought process was at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. You actually, Eclipse, use a lot of the state of the art. So you use Celestia for DA, right? Or Ethereum for settlement. Obviously the execution we've gone through is the Solana virtual machine. So a natural approach to I guess, especially because you committed to Solana so long ago, might have been to use something like an optimistic roll-up stack, Arbitrum, Optimism, or maybe if you wanted to go for the ZK side of things, you might have gone for a custom solution. What brought you to use RISC Zero for the ZK VM for your ZK fraud proofs? And actually, before you answer that, what made you choose a ZK fraud proof system in general?
Yeah, one mantra we've had is where you can save time, you should absolutely save time and be first to go to market. And I think that's been something that's very valuable from a go-to-market perspective. Who is the first mover matters quite a lot in crypto in terms of amassing that critical mass of ecosystem and liquidity and users. And to us, it was okay, we can either spend a year re-implementing the SVM in Solidity so that we can then do the bisection game, find a single step, and then take that onto the Ethereum smart contract layer, or we can use infrastructure that is already out there that can already provide us something that is of similar end purpose that we don't have to actually work on it. We looked around the market and there was this Kalua by RISC Zero was available. We were looking into ZK fraud proofs as a methodology for us to not have to do this work. And that was largely where the decision came down to. We were okay, we can go to market faster because this infrastructure is already readily available and done by a very competent team.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've actually already answered my next question, which is, why didn't you go for a much more custom circuit solution? But the answer is because that would have taken you much longer. Save time, get to market.
Yeah, time to market is so of critical essence. I think, yes, building the best tech stack you can from the ground up is very important on things that matter, right? And that, to us and to any L2, is really the execution environment. It's not, how you do your fraud proofs. People might argue, yeah, that affects largely your security. It absolutely does. But the reality of the matter is some of the best and most used L2s do not have fraud proofs or have not had permissionless fraud proofs. And so it's a matter of like, yes, does it matter for the end user and its safety? Absolutely. We don't want people underwriting safety on your chain just because of, or you have a reputation. You know, you're part of Coinbase and therefore we know that you're going to be safe. We want people to know that they're safe. But part of it is also, you know, as a company, what do we focus on? That is most important. And to us, what's most important is let's get an ecosystem. Let's get our execution layer optimized for users and dApps and make sure value can flow back to dApps in our ecosystem. And then everything else that we don't have to work on ourselves in-house, let's work with trusted partners like RISC Zero to do it.
That makes a lot of sense. So an interesting question I have then is, let's say a year or two from now, maybe there's some hot new DA layer or something, or maybe there's something. Are you married to the tech you have already, or with this move fast, break things, are you going to try and keep up to date on all those things and actually focus on ecosystem as the the front layer, and then underneath the stack, you're going to switch as much as you can, keep it fresh, or are you trying your best to stick to your partners?
I mean, right now the DA layer is not even close to being like multiple orders of their magnitude, not close to being the bottleneck. So like, okay, it is a bottleneck, then you reevaluate. But we work with super smart people out there who are working, and this is like their purpose. They're like, okay, we will scale the DA layer 100x, and that's what we will do all day. And you're gonna tell me that some team out there who's working on 6 different things are gonna then beat them? I don't think that's that likely. There's this world-class team of some of the smartest people in the world. They've been hacking US government databases for a long time. They've been writing papers with Vitalik, whatever. They're just a world-class team, and they've been working on this one thing. And you're going to tell me that other people who are working on 10 things are going to beat them. The thing is, okay, maybe one day if we hit an execution throughput because of DA, we will consider. But until then, we're going to work with the people that have been great for us.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I mean, we're here today at Boundless event, so Boundless is fresh on our minds. One aspect of Boundless is this decentralized proving, the ability to request proofs in a nice and awesome decentralized manner. So the verifier on Eclipse, so the party that posts a ZK proof of incorrect outputs, will this be permissionless? You can also answer if you don't know.
No, at the moment, like the ZK fraud proof design is very nebulous. What we've done is we know we want to use ZK fraud proofs. We know we want to use the Kahlua design.
Okay.
We know we want to have some type of hardware acceleration because we've run a couple SVM blocks into ZK SVM and ZK VMs, and it is slow.
Yeah.
And that's not your fault. It's just that these SVM blocks are enormous, and they contain a ton of transactions and just a ton of activity in them. So just making sure that that's able to keep up with the kind of time bounds in our fraud-proof game, that's important for us. But yeah, that's how we're thinking about it right now.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Moving on to, I guess, the future of Eclipse. You were talking to me before about ecosystem. Tell me about how you think about ecosystem. What are your main prongs of attack? It's always very interesting to see how different people do it. I think you've been quite unique in your approach, Eclipse, of different things, so I'd be interested to hear about that.
I'm happy to give an honest answer. First thing you have to do is you have to build some sort of distribution and liquidity layer within your ecosystem so that dApps can come on and actually have some users. Because ultimately right now, I think in the past it used to be a little different. I talked to a lot of builders that came to ETH Denver that have been around since 2019, and they're telling me, yeah, back in the day, we just used to choose one chain. There was only one chain to build on. But now you have the choice of 20, 30 chains to build on. And as a dApp builder, it's ultimately a business decision. You go to where you can get the most number of users, you can get the most eyeballs, you can get the most liquidity, and you can get the most distribution, right? And so if you're a new ecosystem and you are barely competing on these things, yes, you have to have a base layer of this, but then on top of that, you have to provide people something else, which is either some very, very white-gloved approach of support that is very valuable that they can't get elsewhere, or you have to have something that's fundamental in the technology that can't be replicated elsewhere, and therefore they must choose your chain if they want to build something new, right? And the point of, I think there's a couple chains that are working in this manner that are let's go so high throughput, let's centralize the sequencer set, let's take a different set of trade-offs such that we can support a set of dApps that are not possible elsewhere, only on our chain, and those guys will build on us. And so to kind of showcase this, we've built a couple in-house experiments that basically showcase the transaction processing capabilities of Eclipse today. We are able to do around 9,000 in production TPS right now. And our thought process is let's continue down this path of working with teams in our ecosystem, working with teams in our network, but also incubating teams ourselves that are then going to fit into this category, basically.
Interesting. So you've gone for the white glove approach, as you mentioned.
I think it's inevitable. Like, listen, guys, like you guys all know, there's probably going to be 10 plus chains launched at ETH Denver. I believe like last ECC, there was like 5 plus chains that were launched. And, I think there's probably like 1,000 chains at the moment right now. And so if you have 1,000 of anything, you got to compete on differentiation, right? You can't all be just a commodity and compete on the fact that everyone's fast and everyone's cheap. And so when you're thinking about that, like dApp developers are your end customer, then what can you provide to the dApp developer, I think is an interesting question to ask.
Yeah, it's definitely, as we speed up and accelerate in blockchain and in technology in general, the attention spans of developers definitely start decreasing and more chains are available.
One thing that's crazy is the speed at which the ARB closes for anything that has like a hyper concentration of attention in crypto, right? Because one thing I've noticed in the past couple of weeks is the number of L1s that are coming to market, and this is insane. Like everyone is launching their own L1. We've seen like 5, 6 L1s that were funded in the past couple months, and those fundraising announcements just hit Twitter like a couple weeks ago, which tells me, okay, there was a point in time when people were like, oh, everyone must build an L2, and now a lot of people are like, everyone must build a perp dex, everyone must build an L1, and that ARB is going to close very soon as well. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the people who do something that's truly special and new before other people think that it is going to be truly special and new. Like it is the first mover that has that advantage.
On that, we'll wrap up with one final question. We'll move away from Boundless and maybe even Eclipse, but you're free to keep talking about Eclipse. What are you most excited about in the next 3-6 months? It can be Eclipse, it can be general crypto, it could be even not crypto. Give me a technology one. AI is hot. What are you most excited about? What's really got you thinking these days?
I mean, personally, I have things that I'm excited about. So I'm really excited about like 7702 infrastructure in conjunction with agents that are then able to do like delayed transactions. So for example, I want to be like, oh, hey, when this token hits X market cap, I want to then sell 20% into another token, and I want to just send this out there and have an expiration time of like X days, and then have that transact like automatically without my knowing, using rule sets that I define on my like 7702 contract. Being like, okay, these are the bounded set of actions that you can take, and this is how much you can spend, and then boom, I just put that out there, server, non-extractable private key, agent private key, and then that just does that action. I'm pretty excited about this. This is probably going to happen in the next couple weeks. On the Eclipse side, I'm really excited about just this general change in how people think about value accrual, right? Because what happens when you have everyone competing for the same market? You have all these L2s, then everyone's going to try to king make dApps. Everyone's trying to make sure that dApps are best taken care of, and dApps become these like first-class citizens. And from a technology layer, what that looks like then is I believe more and more people are experimenting around with some type of MEV revenue share or fee share on the base layer. So on the L1s that look like MCP with MEV taxes, and on the L2s that look like things like Blast or MEV taxes on Unichain with like Flashbots Builder, or people like us who are also trying to do, or we are doing MEV redistribution as well. So like there's all these experiments on, or also application-specific sequencing is kind of in this category as well. There's all these experiments on like, let's give dApps the revenue that they generate in terms of both fees and like MEV, and then that is then bleeding into different types of infrastructure as well as the infrastructure layers we use today. So those are the two things I'm excited about.
Nice, that's great. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to 0x Tete Hoho.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.